My name is Natalie Harris. It happened about 6 months after I got married. My mom came over to our house and she cried and said,
I've been diagnosed with cirrhosis. If it stays like this, it could be life-threatening. Please give me your liver.
I was shocked by this sudden request. Cirrhosis?
They say I can get a live transplant. If I do that, I'll get better. So please, give me your liver.
But I hesitated quite a bit. The reason is I'm not on good terms with my mom. Since I was a child, she's always been cold to me, and I never felt loved. Compared to my friends' moms, I always wondered why she was so cold. When my dad was around, it was a bit better, but on nights when he came home late, there was never any dinner. Even if I cried because I was hungry, she wouldn't make anything, and if I opened the fridge on my own, I'd get hit by her. I wanted so badly to be loved by her, so I worked hard in school, but no matter how hard I tried to get perfect scores, it was always the same. This didn't change even when I was in middle school, and by the time I got to high school, she told me to get a part-time job. But all the money I made from my job was taken by her, and I kept working just to cut down on time spent with her. So when she made this request, I couldn't readily agree. But when I consulted my husband, James, he said,
She's your only mom. How can you not help her? If something happens, you'll regret it.
He called me heartless for hesitating and insisted that I must become her donor. In the end, I had no choice but to become the donor and unwillingly provided my mom with my liver. However, after the surgery, when my mom was discharged, the true reason why she wanted me to be the donor became clear. One day, after coming home exhausted from my work, I found my mom inside our house. What? Mom, how did you get in?
I have a spare key, so of course I can get in.
You weren't supposed to have a key.
James gave it to me, sweetie.
James is my husband. Why would James?
It doesn't matter. I'm going to live here now, so you need to leave. Thanks for taking care of James up until now.
What? What do you mean?
I'm taking your husband, your liver, and this new house too.
What do you mean?
I'm going to live here with James.
With James? Just the two of you?
That's right.
What about Dad?
We're getting a divorce, and that's final.
Final? What if James doesn't agree?
James is already on board.
What? I don't understand.
How can you be so clueless? James and I are in a romantic relationship.
Wait, what? A romantic relationship? Mom, how old do you think you are? You're 52 and James is 32. You're 20 years apart and you're saying it's romantic?
Yes, age doesn't matter in romance.
No, it definitely matters.
You don't understand because you're a child.
Why is this happening?
It started when you two came to introduce yourselves after getting married. I liked James right away. But I thought the age gap was too big back then, and he wouldn't be interested in me. But then, while talking, James said he actually prefers older women.
That's way too old.
That's just how it is.
If he likes older women, why did he marry me?
His parents told him to get married already, so he thought anyone would do and just happened to marry you.
But you came to help us out because you knew we were both working.
That was just an excuse to see James.
I'm your real daughter. How could you?
Oh, you're not my real daughter.
What? Not your daughter?
That's right. You're the child of your dad's mistress. Your dad had an affair when he was young, and the woman got pregnant. I couldn't have children, so your dad brought you here without my consent. But who wants to raise the child of a mistress?
Is that why you were so cold to me?
Exactly. I thought I might grow to love you if I raised you, but I couldn't. What's unforgivable is unforgivable, so get a divorce.
You can't just tell me to get a divorce. I haven't even talked to James about it. Just then, James came home. Perfect timing. Let's ask James.
Go ahead, ask him.
Mom said triumphantly, clinging to James as he walked in. James happily hugged her back. What is this? Gross.
I told her everything, but she doesn't get it.
She's not too bright.
Well, finding out your husband and mom are getting married would shock anyone, right?
Is that so? Whatever. I brought the divorce papers.
Divorce papers.
Yeah, that's right. Here's a little thank you to my lifesaver. Sign this and get out.
Being handed the divorce papers was a huge shock. Despite the pain I went through to donate my liver, I was just a donor to them. Why? If it was just about a liver donor, it didn't have to be me. If she's that important to you, you should have been her donor.
That's impossible. I can't let my beloved James go through that pain. And besides, we need your dad to keep working to pay for the hospital bills, right? Considering that, you were just the right fit.
This is the worst. I thought of you as my mom.
Think what you want. That's your business. But I never thought of you as my daughter. I truly hated you. As you grew older and started to look more like that other woman, it was unbearable. Now sign the papers.
Hearing all that, I had no words left. I had so much resentment, but even those words wouldn't come out. I felt so frustrated and sad, and it was pathetic that I still thought of her as my mom. On top of that, the man I thought was my husband had betrayed me so thoroughly. Fine, I'll divorce you. With that, I took the alimony from the two of them and got divorced. 5 years later, living near my childhood home, I got a call from my ex-husband, James.
Natalie, help me. Please help me.
The moment I answered the phone, I heard his desperate cries. Well, it's been 5 years without a word. What's going on?
Hillary, her conditions come back.
Hillary is my mom's name. Come back? You mean her cirrhosis?
Yeah, that's right.
Is it alcoholic cirrhosis?
Yes, that's why you have to help.
Help? She was supposed to have stopped drinking. She promised she wouldn't drink after the transplant.
Yeah, that's right.
If she wasn't drinking, she shouldn't have alcoholic cirrhosis.
Well, she got better after the surgery, and she wanted to drink again. She thought a little wouldn't hurt, but it kept increasing. When she felt sick again, she went to the hospital.
So, she started drinking again?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. You knew she'd relapse if she drank.
I know, but sometimes you can't get through life without drinking. This time, she's really going to stop. Ever since she found out her condition came back, she's stopped drinking. But still, you know.
Still, what? If she was so important, she should have stopped drinking in the first place. Now she's relapsed and there's nothing to be done.
That's why we need another transplant.
What?
Please be her donor again.
Absolutely not.
Why not? You're her daughter, you should do this much.
What are you talking about? I already donated once. There's no second time. You should be the donor this time.
I have my job.
So do I.
But you're not working now, are you?
Are you kidding me? I have things I need to do too. Why would I cut up my body for someone who's treated me so poorly? 5 years ago, I didn't even want to be her donor. I only did it because you and my mom begged me and called me heartless. And after it was done, you asked for a divorce and took our new house. It's unbelievable. I don't consider her my mom anymore, so it's none of my business.
Don't say that. The bond between parent and child can't be broken.
It was never there to begin with. You know that, right? That's why you never contacted me after our divorce.
Don't be so mean. Without a transplant, she'll need dialysis, and that's going to cost a lot of money.
Who cares? She got cirrhosis from drinking. Isn't this what you wanted?
Of course not. She's suffering every day.
She brought it on herself.
Don't you feel sorry for her? She's your mom.
Not even a bit. She never showed me any love.
She's getting older. I don't want her to suffer.
If you didn't want her to suffer, you should have stopped her from drinking.
Please, just give her your liver one more time.
It's medically impossible.
That can't be true. Your liver should have regenerated by now.
Even if you say that, I can't see it, so I don't know.
They say the liver regenerates even after you donate, so your liver should be back to normal.
They say it doesn't return to its original shape.
You can't see it, so how would you know?
Isn't that what I just said?
And shape doesn't matter, does it? As long as it functions properly, who cares about the shape?
Easy for you to say.
You're young. Donating twice shouldn't be a problem.
That's not true. The doctors won't approve it.
You're her daughter. It's fine.
We're not even blood related.
But there's an emotional bond.
No, there isn't. If you're so insistent, James should do it. Instead of talking about your work, you should donate your liver. If you're telling me to do it, it shouldn't be a big deal, right?
I'd donate if I could. I'd do anything to make her feel better. But I can't take time off work. And if I don't work, who will? If I end up in the hospital, who will take care of her?
The hospital provides complete care. There's nothing to worry about. Besides, the donor gets discharged sooner, so you can take care of her once you're out.
Doing that would wear me out.
You're only 2 years older than me. If I can handle it, so can you.
Don't say that. I have no choice but to ask you.
No matter what you say, it's impossible.
It'll be fine. The doctor said you can do it.
I doubt they said that.
You're young, and your family. It's okay to donate twice. Please, I'm begging you.
No way, I don't trust that. I won't risk my life to help.
You're really heartless.
Say what you want. You're strangers to me, so I don't care what you say.
Okay, but could you at least visit her?
Huh? Why?
She wants to see you.
She hates me, remember? She couldn't love me because I was someone else's child. Now she wants to see me? I don't believe it.
She really does care about you. She's been talking about you nonstop for the past 5 years.
Do you even know what kind of childhood I had? Being thrown outside in the cold winter without my jacket, not being fed when I was hungry, getting yelled at for no reason. It was terrible. Even so, I thought of her as my mom and endured it, thinking it was my fault. But all of that wasn't my fault. It was just because I was the child of a mistress. What did I do wrong?
I didn't know, but she regrets it. She says she feels bad for making you suffer and regrets it every day. She says she was too young to understand your feelings and cries about it, wishing she could do it all over again.
No way.
It's true. She really loves you as a mother. You can't just sever a 30-year parent-child bond overnight. She says she was harsh because she took me away, and she wanted you to hate her to make it easier on you. That's how kind she is.
How can someone so kind steal her daughter's husband?
That's why she wants to see you. Please understand her feelings.
This sounds so fake. If she's so kind and okay with being hated, would she act like this? It's strange. Donating twice could destroy my body. How can someone who truly cares about me ask that?
It's because she's not the one asking. I'm the one contacting you. But as her husband, I want to do what's best for her.
Then be the donor yourself.
I want to do everything I can for her. So please, do everything you can for your mom.
Why am I being dragged into this?
I feel really sorry for taking your mom from you. I'm not asking for forgiveness, but please don't hate her.
This is so unbelievable.
Just visit her. Please, just come see her.
If I argued more, he'd just keep pestering me. So I agreed to visit her. After a while, I reluctantly went to visit, and indeed, my mom was weak. Her face was deeply wrinkled, and her hair was completely gray. Who would believe this woman, who now looked like an old lady, had a 32-year-old husband?
Thank you for coming, Natalie.
Since I had never been thanked by her before, I felt sick and felt more like a lie. You've aged quite a bit.
Illness does that. I don't really want James to see me like this, but it can't be helped.
Yes, that's just how it is at your age.
You're quite mean.
I'm just like you, Mom. Even if I'm the child of a mistress, there are some similarities between us.
Natalie, please don't say that. I consider you my real child.
Is that so? I don't think the same. So, your cirrhosis has come back, I hear?
Yes, isn't it sad?
But it's alcoholic cirrhosis, isn't it? That's your own fault. You promised not to drink after the transplant, but you did anyway. Is that why you're in a different hospital now?
Not exactly, but the previous hospital wasn't quite right. This one has better doctors.
I see.
Anyway, I'm thinking of getting another live transplant. The doctor said it's possible, and it would make me feel much better.
Hope you find a donor.
The donor is right here.
Who? James.
What are you talking about? I can't let James go through that. It's obviously you.
So the whole wanting to see me was a big lie. She wouldn't say something like this if it wasn't.
I raised you for 30 years. You should repay that favor, so give me your liver.
Even if you say that.
I'm your mom. I raised you, so it's only fair.
What nerve she has. When my dad was on business trips, she'd leave me alone, claiming children grow up without parents. But now, when she's in trouble, she says she raised me. Her selfishness is astounding. If repaying a favor is the issue, I've already donated once, so that should cover it. Not that I received much love to repay.
Hey, that's unfair to Hillary.
James, it's despicable that you lied to get me to the hospital. If it's so important, you should be her donor. That would solve everything. I won't and can't be the donor again.
Like I said, you're only her daughter.
And what does that mean? If you insist, let's consult the doctor properly.
There's no need to talk to the doctor. I already told them you're my daughter and will be the donor. They said there's no worry if my daughter is the donor.
Seems like you left out important details.
Just be my donor. Your parent is suffering. It's your duty.
Both my mom's and James's voices grew louder, alarming the other patients in the room. Those unaware of the situation probably thought I was heartless. Regardless, I can't be your donor this time. We've severed ties, so don't contact me again. James, you're a stranger to me now. Don't rely on me.
How heartless can you be? Donating once doesn't repay the debt of raising you, you ungrateful child.
I decided it was useless to argue any further and left the hospital room despite their protests. From the room, I could hear my mom's cries and James trying to comfort her.
I'll talk to her again. Natalie will understand once she calms down. Just don't cry.
With that, James ran after me. If my mom was so important, he should stay by her side until she stopped crying. Why chase after me and continue to pester? I didn't want to talk to James, so I quickened my pace. But James caught up and grabbed my arm.
Wait, I need to talk to you.
Enough already. I can't do it.
I get it. I understand.
Then what is it?
The truth is, I'm thinking of leaving Hillary.
In an instant, my anger subsided, and I looked at James. He seemed serious. Why? Didn't you love my mom?
Yeah, I did. But did you see her? When we met, she was lively, fun, and beautiful. But now, she's like an old woman. She's full of complaints, and her hair is all gray. Since her condition got worse, she's become a monster.
What?
Now, she feels more like a mother than a woman. I can't see her as a woman anymore. So, I'm giving her back to you.
How selfish can you be?
But she is a monster now.
So you cherish new things, but treat the old ones like monsters?
It's not like that.
Yes, it is.
Come on. If you don't become the donor, she'll have to start dialysis. That means constant hospital visits, tons of money, and she won't be able to work.
Why don't you ask for a caregiver for her?
Caregivers aren't free.
With your income, it shouldn't be a problem.
Well, I've been dependent on her for the last 5 years, and I quit my job.
You quit? You said you were working.
Well, yeah.
No matter how you say it, you quit. Why?
I wanted to become a singer. When I told Hillary, she said I was good and could make it. So, I thought I wouldn't have to give up my dream. So, I quit my job and started singing.
Wow. Did my mom ever actually listen to this guy sing? I've gone to karaoke with him a few times, and he's never been good. In fact, I wondered how someone could be that off-key. A singer, huh? Are you getting any recognition?
Yeah, I have subscribers.
He pulled out his phone to show me some videos, but his subscriber count was barely in double digits. And even though he had uploaded multiple videos, they were all at a level that would encourage tone-deaf people. How did he ever think he could become a singer? Your videos don't even have 100 views.
That's because they're new.
The one from a year ago also has only double digits? But there was no point in criticizing James' efforts now. That's amazing, I said, ending the conversation.
See? It is amazing. I knew I had talent, so I'm going to focus on my singing career. So, I won't have time for a job or caregiving, and my fans would be heartbroken if they knew I was married to an old lady. That's why I think we should get a divorce.
James said this with a pleased smile. Divorce is between the two of them, not something I can or want to comment on. I just think my mom was foolish to marry such a young man. But that doesn't mean I'll take her back.
So, I'm handing her back to you.
Look, it's your choice to leave that awful woman, but don't rely on me. We're strangers now. She's not my mom anymore.
Don't say that. If you don't take her, I can't divorce her.
That's a problem. You chose to be with her, so deal with it yourself. With that, I walked away from James. Sometime later, James went back to the hospital room, wondering how to bring up the subject of divorce. But my mom took his hand and started complaining.
Why won't she be the donor? She's such an awful woman. Without a donor, I won't get better.
Just then, the doctor came in.
I need to talk to you.
Oh, doctor, is this about the surgery?
No, actually, I have a message from the donor.
A message from her?
Yes. Your daughter said, I've already been your donor once, so I can't do it again. If it's absolutely necessary, find someone else.
No way.
You said she had never been a donor, but that's completely false. I told you that liver donation can only be done once. Why did you try to make her do it again? She refused after understanding everything.
It couldn't be helped.
Couldn't be helped. What do you mean? This is a matter of life and death. Just because someone is a donor doesn't mean it's 100% safe. That's why we only allow it once. You're being too selfish.
It's not your place to be angry. She's my daughter. It's only natural for a daughter to risk her life for her parent.
How selfish can you be? Your liver problem is due to alcoholism. You need to abstain for 6 months, and it's only been a few days since you were hospitalized. We don't even know if you can have a transplant in this condition. And after discharge, you must remain alcohol-free. The fact that your condition has relapsed means you broke that rule. No doctor will risk someone's life for a patient like you.
That's your opinion. My life is precious too. That's why I found a donor myself.
Then why did you break your promise to abstain from alcohol? You brought this on yourself, and now you expect your daughter to fix it?
I raised her. She owes me.
If she's your child, why didn't you love her when she was young? Despite everything, she still became your donor, and you took her husband and her home. That's too cruel.
What? How do you know that? It's not your business. This is a family matter. You're just a doctor. Just do the surgery.
I couldn't stay silent after hearing everything. I felt too sorry for her. But you're right, it's not my place to interfere.
Exactly. Mind your own business.
And I was asked to give you this.
What now?
Your husband wants a divorce. He said to give you the same present your daughter received when she got divorced.
What? What do you mean, James?
I'm sorry. I can't do this anymore.
You've got to be kidding. I've supported you all this time, and now you want a divorce without a donor and with dialysis costs coming up.
I want to focus on my singing career.
What does that even mean? I can't handle hospital visits alone. I won't let you leave. I've supported you all this time. Now it's your turn to support me.
With a furious expression, my mom started yelling at James. James, looking exhausted, clutched the divorce papers and shouted that he wanted to leave. The doctor, having had enough of their bickering, left the room and met me outside the door. With a smile, he put his arm around my shoulder and said cheerfully,
Natalie, Did you get your revenge?
Yes, thank you. Afterward, my mom, who swore she would never get a divorce, started yelling every day. James tried to calm her down, saying they wouldn't get a divorce, but he desperately wanted one. Exhausted, he cheated on her while she was in the hospital and brought a woman into their home. When my mom got discharged, she noticed changes in the house and found out James was cheating. She confronted the woman, insisting on breaking up because she wouldn't divorce him. James had lied to the woman, saying he lived with his mom, so she didn't know he was married. The deceived mistress demanded compensation from James. Burdened by high medical bills and alimony, James realized he had to work to survive, so he took a part-time job while caring for my mom. However, that wasn't enough to make ends meet, so he borrowed money from a loan company. Once he started borrowing, he couldn't stop, and he kept borrowing more. The debt piled up, becoming enormous, and my mom found out. She asked my dad for help, but he refused, pointing out that she had taken her daughter's husband and now wanted help because she was in trouble. Then she asked me for help, but of course I didn't assist her. Eventually, my mom realized she couldn't receive welfare with James, who was of working age, living with her, so they divorced. Now, she lives alone in loneliness. As for James, he gave up on his singing career, burdened by his debt, and now scrapes by with day labor jobs. Recently, he went to the hospital because he wasn't feeling well, and it turns out he has cancer. As for me, I'm happily living my life with my husband, who is a doctor. In a way, I should thank my mom because leaving that man led to my current happiness. Don't act like you're my mom just because you failed med school. Get out of here. You're a disgrace.
She wasn't always this cruel. Since starting middle school, Amy has been going down a troubling path. Sure, it's great that she's focused on her studies and improving her grades. It's just like Amy to want to be the best at everything. But that doesn't give her the right to say whatever she wants. Even between parents and children, there are lines you shouldn't cross. It's as if she thinks it's okay to hurt people to get what she wants. I decided it was time to confront her. Well, I'm not your real mom anyway. I had reached my limit, so I decided to tell Amy the truth. Then Amy was stunned.
What?
Amy might be confused, but she needs to know the truth. She seems blinded by money and fame, ignoring what's truly important. I hope she change her ways, but maybe that's no longer possible. People who can't understand others' feelings will never truly succeed. Amy needs to think about what she's done and realize it's too late to regret it now. I'm Kate, 38 years old this year. I live with my husband and daughter, and I work at the local city office during the day. I've been working since I graduated high school, so I've been at this job for 20 years now. I'd say I'm fairly experienced at this point, but it turns out it suits me quite well. I never planned on working at the city office. Originally, I had no interest in this job. To explain why I've been a public servant for 20 years, I need to start with my family. I grew up in a family of 4 with my dad, mom, and older sister, Annie. Annie was always a top student and decided to take on the challenge of applying to one of the most prestigious departments, med school. She got in on her first try, but med school is incredibly expensive. There were extra costs for experiments, materials, and living expenses, on top of the usual tuition fees. And no matter how much money we had, it was never enough. Despite their modest income, our parents managed to support her dream. Even as a high schooler, I could see the strain it put on them. But Annie changed dramatically after moving to the big city for med school, and our family had no way of knowing. Annie, who had been dedicated to her studies throughout high school, became like a kite with its string cut, living alone in the big city. She started prioritizing fashion and socializing over studying. Every time she came home for a long break, she looked more polished. It felt strange seeing her transform so much, especially since I still lived at home even after becoming an adult. Seeing Annie, who had never been interested in fashion, become more and more stylish gave me a bad feeling. Meanwhile, I was studying hard to become a nurse. I had fond memories of a kind nurse who took care of me when I was hospitalized as a child, and I wanted to be like her. One day, when Annie was home for a visit, I confided my feelings to her. She listened to me and then laughed derisively.
Oh, you want to be a nurse, Kate? Nurses are just underlings for doctors. That's a weird thing to aspire to.
She waved her hand dismissively, clearly uninterested.
Well, good luck with that, I guess.
Her words stung, but I wasn't going to give up on my dream just because of her. I kept studying, but on the day of the entrance exam, I was too sick to perform well and ended up failing. It was a big blow, but seeing my parents struggle to support Annie, I couldn't bring myself to ask for more help. I didn't want to burden them any further. That was the one thing I wanted to avoid. Around that time, I saw a notice for a job opening at the neighboring city office and decided to give up on college and start working. I realized that becoming a nurse wasn't the only path in life. Besides, as the officials are public servants, they won't go bankrupt suddenly. Moreover, once I started working, I realized the job suited me quite well, and I found my daily work fulfilling. Even though I felt like my world had ended when I failed to get into college, I've come to see that this job suits me well. But now, I think failing to get into college might have been a blessing in disguise, as it led me to a fulfilling job I really care about. One day, when I was still living at home, I was 20 years old. It was a Friday, and as I was eating dinner, thinking about what to do over the upcoming 3-day weekend, I heard someone come in through the front door. Rushing to the entrance, I saw Annie standing there. "Oh, it's Annie. Welcome back." Then Annie came in silently, looking like she was about to cry. "What's wrong? Something must have happened." At first, Annie just kept silent, but then she began to speak in bits and pieces. According to her, she was pregnant. Come to think of it, every time she came home, she talked about the guy she was dating, but it seemed like it was a different guy each time. "So, you're pregnant with your boyfriend's child?"
Yes, what should I do?
"The guy you talked about last time?"
And no, I broke up with him a long time ago. I don't even know.
In other words, she got pregnant without realizing it while dating different guys. She doesn't even know whose child it is. That's shocking. So, what are you going to do about the baby and college?
I can't just quit college now. It's too late to do anything about it.
She had been wondering why she hadn't gotten her period, and then she found out she was pregnant. Originally careless by nature, she realized she was pregnant too late to choose any other option but to have the baby. But the baby is going to be born, right? You need to think about what to do.
Please help me, Kate.
Facing a desperate Annie, I thought about it. Luckily, I was already working and had some income and free time. Should I take care of the baby in place of Annie, who is busy studying to become a doctor? But I wondered if I could really handle raising a child.
Hey, the baby is innocent, right? Help me out.
Indeed, the baby is innocent, and I can't let Annie's dream of becoming a doctor be crushed now. Since I wanted to go into medicine but couldn't, now that Annie is striving in that field, I should support her however I can.
I have to become a doctor. You're a public servant and have some free time. You can help me out.
While Annie's reasoning was infuriating, I couldn't just let the child suffer. I thought it would be difficult for emotionally immature Annie to raise a child. Okay, I'll take care of the baby. But remember, you're the mother, Annie. Make sure to visit and take over when you're ready.
I get it. Thanks for your help until then.
The heavy atmosphere lifted, and she looked relieved all of a sudden. Even though I thought she was being selfish at that time, this was the only thing I could do. Annie named her daughter Amy and left her with me.
Take good care of Amy. I'll come to check on her later.
With those words, Annie never came to see Amy. I tried to contact her occasionally, but never got a reply. At this rate, it's hard to even know who the real mother is. I decided to treat Amy as my own daughter. Although Amy is Annie's child, she is incredibly dear to me. I resolved to give her all the love I could for both me and Annie. When Amy was 2, I married my boyfriend at the time. He proposed, understanding that I was raising my niece as my own. His affection for Amy, as if she were his own child, was a big reason why I married him. Amy thinks of my husband as her real father. I thought I was doing my best to raise her, but there were a lot of difficult things. My husband works from morning till night and can't be involved in raising her. Naturally, I ended up handling everything on my own. I wonder if Amy feels something about her father not being around much, as she started to become rebellious. It's said that girls develop quickly, but I didn't expect her rebellious phase to come this soon. We've been clashing more often, but all I want is the best for Amy. I'd do anything that benefits her. Of course, I've also continued working to cover the expenses for Amy. When Amy was in the 6th grade, she said she wanted to apply to a private school.
I want to go to a private middle school.
A private middle school? What brought this on all of a sudden?
The uniform is really cute, and I just thought it'd be nice to wear it.
Indeed, it's a private school known for its cute uniforms, but it's also very demanding academically. It's tough to get in. You'll have to study hard. Can you do it?
Sure, I'll work hard.
She studied hard despite struggling and passed. Congratulations, Amy. You did it.
I'm so happy. I can't believe I passed.
With her enrollment in a girls' school, Amy transformed completely. Driven by a need to keep up with her peers, she became desperate to study. Her competitive nature may have suited her for this girls' school. But perhaps it was around this time that her competitive streak began to take a strange turn. Amy became obsessed with studying and getting good grades. Inherited from her mother, as her grades improved, her personality began to twist in odd directions.
I just can't believe people who don't study and just laze around. They're just idiots staying idiots. They're literally worthless.
Amy, life has many aspects. Everyone has their strengths and weaknesses. You can't just decide someone's life isn't worth living based on one aspect.
That's the kind of soft talk that gets you nowhere. It's about studying hard, topping your class, going to a good college, and making money. What's wrong with that?
What's gotten into you lately? Being good at studying doesn't make you a better person. Thinking that good students are superior and seeing nothing else is just like Annie's daughter. Indeed, Amy is following the same path as Annie, now aiming to take the medical school entrance exams.
The real earners are doctors, right? If you have the qualifications, you won't starve.
Although Amy doesn't know her mom, Annie, it seems you can't fight genetics. I supported Amy to the fullest so she could achieve her goals. From tutoring classes to exams and the considerable expense of application fees, all were for Amy's dream. However, Amy seems to take my support for granted. Moreover, if something doesn't go her way, she takes it out on me. One day, while at her prep school, Amy called me.
Hey mom, can you come pick me up?
What? What's going on all of a sudden? Did you forget your train pass? Amy usually takes the train to her prep school, so it was unusual for her to ask for a ride.
No, it's just starting to drizzle.
A drizzle? Oh, right. There's a fold-up umbrella in your bag. Then, I could hear Amy sighing over the phone.
Like, don't you even think about what if I catch a cold? You're really clueless. This is why I hate having a dumb mom.
Her attitude, completely disregarding how her words might affect others, disappointed me. But Amy, I'm at work right now and I'll be home late today. It's a busy period.
What? You mean you won't come pick me up even though I'm asking you to? What if I get sick because of your job? Just anyone's job? Will you take responsibility then?
I could picture her blaming me over the phone. But this wasn't just about today. Whether it's her rebellious phase or she's looking down on me, her dismissive attitude continues. We once had a talk with my husband and me to address her behavior, but now it seems like it was all in vain. At some point, she started believing that having the academic ability to aim for medical school made her superior. Being fawned over at school for her academic achievement seems to be fueling her delusions. However, with exams being unpredictable, I thought it best not to provoke Amy unnecessarily, so I held my tongue. As usual, her biological mother, Annie, hasn't been in touch at all. It seems she's too busy with work, ignoring all my attempts to contact her. Lately, Annie appears to be in high demand as a cosmetic surgeon on TV and in magazines. So I understand she's busy, but does that mean she doesn't care about her own daughter? In these moments, I wonder what Annie would do, but I continue to support Amy in any way I can. Perhaps Amy is just going through a difficult phase, and once this rebellious period is over, we might be able to have a pleasant conversation again. But little did I know, my hopes would soon be shattered. As the college entrance exam season approached, Amy became more irritable than ever. It's a significant turning point in her life, so her tension is understandable. Having once failed to perform well in an exam due to illness, I don't want Amy to experience the same. I did everything I could to support her, but every time we met, she would glare at me or click her tongue in annoyance. Despite feeling frustrated, I calmed myself down, reminding myself it was all for Amy's sake. All her hard work paid off, and Amy successfully got into college.
Oh, exams are finally over. Now I can start my life as a college girl.
Congratulations. I always believed you would make it.
Well, what else would you expect from me?
However, the real problems began thereafter. Amy, perhaps too excited about becoming a college student, started to let loose a bit too much. The day after learning she passed, her lifestyle began to spiral out of control. She would stay in bed until noon, munching on snacks that could hardly be considered breakfast or lunch, never taking her eyes off her phone. Considering her previously studious life, I tried to overlook this behavior until she started college. But as her disordered living habits persisted and her attendance at school became sporadic, I could no longer overlook it. If she continued this way, she would struggle once her new life began. To make matters worse, it seemed she had been using my credit card without my permission. After seeing purchases I didn't recognize on last month's statement, I confronted her, and she admitted to the shopping. Look, I get that you're happy about your college acceptance, but your recent behavior is over the top. Your daily rhythm is a mess.
But I passed, so now I want to enjoy the rest of my high school life as I please.
Do whatever you want. That includes shopping with my credit card without asking.
What? I needed the card for the website, which doesn't take anything else. Your nitpicking over every little thing is exactly why I can't stand mothers. Seriously, this is just pathetic.
Amy didn't take well to being scolded and kept grumbling.
I really wanted to live on my own, you know.
This came out of nowhere after she had finished her college entrance exams. Amy was supposed to commute from our home to the college she would attend starting. What? Live on your own? Why are you bringing this up all of a sudden? We're not even talking about that now.
I wanted to experience college life on my own terms, but since I got into a college that's commutable from home, I can't.
I thought she was happy about getting into her first choice college, but it turns out she was dissatisfied because it was within commuting distance from home.
If I lived on my own, I wouldn't have to deal with all this nagging.
Once Amy got upset, it was hard to get her in a good mood again. But having seen Amy's behavior all this time, I couldn't stay silent. Then Amy brought up something outrageous.
Don't act like a mom when you failed to get into med school. A failure like you should just leave.
What? Why?
I know about it. Failed med school and clung to a job anyone could do, right?
I was stunned by what Amy was saying. Frozen and unable to respond, Amy, seeing that I didn't retort, threw more words at me.
I found your name on an old exam ticket that fell out of the bookshelf. You failed med school, so don't preach to me like a big shot.
The exam ticket from the college I once applied to was kept as a bitter reminder and a bookmark in my bookshelf. I never imagined Amy would find it and throw it in my face. That's irrelevant right now, isn't it?
Because you act all high and mighty. If you just left, I could do whatever I want. Dad hardly ever comes home anyway, so it's practically like I'm living alone.
Then Amy pointed at the front door and said to me,
Come on, get out of here. It's embarrassing to be seen with someone so stupid.
she was a rebellious daughter in a sulk. Should I just accept that? But I had reached my limit. I couldn't believe how carelessly she was speaking, not understanding the difference between right and wrong. It's time to tell her the truth. Maybe it's natural that I don't understand your feelings.
What? What are you talking about all of a sudden?
Well, I'm not your biological mother. Amy looked at me, unable to hide her shock. No wonder. Until now, I had kept silent, not wanting to hurt her. But there's no reason to keep being considerate. So, I'm not really your mom. Maybe I shouldn't have bothered doing anything for you.
What?
Don't understand what I'm saying?
What? Are you planning to give up everything now? Don't you want to support your child as a mother?
I pulled out my smartphone and said to Amy, "Want to know who your biological mother is? It's Annie. You've seen her on TV, haven't you?"
What? That Annie, the cosmetic surgeon known as once in a Millennium Beauty.
Yes, lately that's how she's described on TV. That woman is your biological mom. Amy looked at the smartphone in disbelief. It seemed she was looking up Annie on her phone.
No, wait, why?
Well, why don't you ask her that? Then, Amy started pacing around the room while holding her smartphone.
But Annie lives in one of the top exclusive neighborhoods in the city, has a room just for her designer bags, and another for her beauty treatments, as said on TV. That's my real home, huh?
Wait, what? You want to go live with Annie? I asked Amy.
Of course, I'd rather not stay in this crummy, tiny room in a poor-looking house.
A poor-looking house, huh?
I'm so tired of living with such an annoying mom. I thought if you just left, I could finally live my own life.
She kept glancing at her phone as she spoke.
No way that Annie is my mom? Is there really such a miraculous story? Well, you're useless to me now.
Amy pointed at me and laughed. Even I couldn't take it anymore. Certainly, from the public face of Annie, it's not hard to see why Amy would think that. But Annie is the kind of person who doesn't raise her own child. With a little thought, Amy could question why she wasn't raised by Annie, but she never did. She just treats me like the bad guy. I get it. You've made it clear how you feel about me. Well then, why don't you ask Annie to pay for your college?
Of course, that's my plan. She's rich enough to just hand over the money for her own daughter's tuition.
So you think that way. I raised you till you were an adult, but now you can go back to your real mom. I'm out of the picture, right? Then Amy looked at me with annoyance and nodded absent-mindedly. Then she answered dismissively.
Oh, that's fine. I'll be glad to be rid of someone as annoying as you.
I pulled out a piece of paper. Then sign here. It states you're leaving this house, will have no further contact with me, and you're relinquishing your rights to inheritance or anything else. That's fine with you, right?
What? Talking all big about inheritance and stuff. As if there's anything of value anyway. You sure talk a big game.
Amy casually signed the document.
Here, are you happy now?
I silently took the papers. As soon as she handed over the documents, Amy quickly left the house.
I just go to the address you gave me, right? Finally, I can feel refreshed and even join the ranks of the wealthy.
Amy left without looking back. I'll try to believe this was for the best. In fact, a significant sum of money was supposed to come my way. My recently deceased parents owned a bit of land, and I had decided to sell it, expecting to make several $1,000,000. Thinking of Amy's tuition and the upcoming expenses, I had resolved to sell the land. But since Amy voluntarily signed the papers to give it all up, it must be her decision. Aside from Amy's absence, my life hasn't changed much. However, by mid-August, I received a call from Amy.
Hey, can you send me some money?
What's this all about? You said you didn't need money since your real mom has plenty, right? Holding back tears, Amy pleaded over the phone.
No, I might not be able to go to college.
Apparently, Amy hadn't yet paid the college entrance fees and other expenses. What do you mean? You can't enroll without paying the entrance fees and other dues, right?
What? You knew that? How insincere.
I had heard about it on TV and in the magazines. It was common knowledge. It seems that Annie's past misdeeds were exposed in a magazine that specializes in gossip, which caused her work to drastically decrease. To make matters worse, she made a serious medical error, and her reputation as a cosmetic surgeon plummeted. On TV, they mentioned Annie made a terrible medical mistake. After such an error, I doubt anyone would trust her anymore.
Aren't you taking this a bit lightly? What about my entrance fees?
Why don't you get your real mother to sort it out? I'm nothing to you now. Then Amy raised her voice over the phone.
So, you don't care what happens to me? I managed to get into med school.
Whether you go to college or med school, it really doesn't matter to me.
It should matter. I'm your daughter.
Well, I didn't ask you to go to med school. Besides, you were the one who said, "Don't act like my mother." On the phone, Amy seemed at a loss for words.
But I said that.
You were happy to get into med school, I'm sure. But don't you understand there are things you should and shouldn't say? Even a mother can't forgive everything.
But I don't understand what you're saying.
Amy sounded like she was about to cry, but I had to say what needed to be said. Well, I guess you wouldn't understand all of a sudden. Can we meet to talk about it later?
Yes, I want to see you.
After all the terrible things she did at home, and now she suddenly wants me. Amy's actions were not justifiable as mere rebellion or stress. It might be a kindness in a way to make sure Amy understands clearly. I arrived at the agreed-upon place with a thick envelope in hand. As Amy ran up to me, she said,
Thank goodness. The deadline to pay the entrance fee is the day after tomorrow.
Watching Amy as usual, the first thing she asks about is money.
So, the money?
Amy held out her hand to me. I placed the documents I took from the envelope into her hand.
What? What is this?
These are the documents we agreed upon.
Documents? What are you talking about?
Don't you remember? You'll understand if you look at them. I pointed to the documents already signed by us that terminated our parental ties and renounced any inheritance rights. I was only ever taking care of you, not your mom, and you were the one who said, "You are not my mom."
Sure, but
You can't just say things that should never be said, hurt people with your words, and then expect help only when you're in trouble. That's not how it works.
that's so unfair.
I placed my hand reassuringly on Amy's trembling shoulder and said, "You were the one who wanted to cut ties and go live with your biological mother, renouncing everything. You need to own your words."
But I just said that in the moment.
And what? That makes it okay? You did nothing wrong?
Yes, well, maybe a little, but I was under a lot of stress.
Amy started to make excuses as if trying to justify herself. Stress from exams justifies saying things you shouldn't and hurting others?
Well, I didn't think a joke would hurt anyone.
Amy spoke uncomfortably, clearly not grasping the gravity of the situation. It was disappointing to see that all her explanations revolved solely around herself.
Look, I need Mom to become a doctor.
So you only need me when it's convenient for you. You really need to learn what it means to genuinely hurt someone.
What? You're kidding. What happens if I'm left alone?
I left the scene. Amy crouched back down at her original spot, looking down, but I didn't look back her. Ultimately, Amy couldn't pay her enrollment or tuition fees and couldn't enroll in college. Scholarships and such procedures couldn't be arranged so suddenly, so enrollment was impossible either way. Someone who genuinely doesn't understand others' feelings becoming a doctor is a troubling thought. Incidentally, Annie also tried to contact me later, but I blocked her without hesitation. Despite never contacting me before, it's typical that she would reach out only when she herself was in a pinch, like mother, like daughter. I'm now enjoying living with my husband again, something we haven't done in a while. I'm also struggling to pursue a long-held dream from my past. I remembered that I wanted to be a nurse. Sure, I can manage my current job since I've been at it so long, but it's not what I truly want to do. I thought I'd rather chase the dream I've always had than settle for the satisfaction and stability of my current job. Deciding to take on such a challenge at my age might seem bold, but I've decided to stop suppressing what I really want to do. Well, today I might as well continue studying for college entrance exams.
On a quiet weekend morning, when my husband usually would have gone out, he told me he had a young lover.
I'm serious. I want to make her happy. So sign the divorce papers with these terms.
What do you mean by this? I'm Mary, 53 years old. I married my husband, David, whom I met at a social circle for working adults when we were both 28. We were blessed with 2 children, our eldest son, Tom, and our eldest daughter, Olivia, building a happy family together. I've supported our home as a stay-at-home mom, while David runs a small local business. This year marks our 25th wedding anniversary. Our children have grown up and are now independent. However, it was around this time that I began to notice a change in David's behavior.
Mary, I got some emergency work today. I might come home late.
One morning, as David was having breakfast, he said this, "Okay, take care." I replied with a smile, offering him a coffee, and he hurriedly left the house. David's outings, which often occurred even on holidays. Initially, I trusted my husband without any doubts. However, as these excuses became more frequent, doubts began to grow in my mind.
I have plans with a friend today.
On a weekend meant to be spent with family, David once again excused himself to go out. Again?
Yeah, it's a commitment from before. Sorry about that.
David couldn't hide his slightly panicked expression as he spoke. I watched him leave without saying anything, but anxiety and suspicion grew as I saw his back. The next morning, as I was preparing breakfast as usual, I asked David when he joined me at the dining table. "Good morning, David. What time will you be home today?" After a moment of silence, he answered with an unfocused look in his eyes.
Well, I might be late today. There's an important project.
"It sounds tough, but take care of yourself," I said, tilting my head slightly. But that night, despite waiting, David did not return. I sent several messages to his cell phone as it got late into the night, but there was no reply. The next morning, David finally came home. "Where were you yesterday?" I even sent messages.
I was busy with the project and I stayed at the office last night. Sorry.
"I see. But you could at least let me know. It worries me.
Yeah, my bad.
Seems like you've been really busy lately. Is there a problem? Let me know if there's something I can help with." David gave a wry smile.
No issues. Just a bit busy. Sorry to worry you.
Though I smiled, I felt something was off with David's tired look and unusual responses. Deeply concerned by the drastic change in David's behavior, I chose to remain silent to keep the peace at home. However, David's outings and assertions continued to increase, and he returned home later, making conversation scarce. He might really be onto something. My suspicions only continued to grow. One day, while David was taking a shower, I happened to notice his smartphone. Normally, I wouldn't do this, but driven by an urge to find out more, I picked up the phone. On the unlocked screen, there was a message from an unknown woman named Emma. "How was today? I want to see you again." My hands trembled, and my heart ached. However, I chose not to confront him right there, and decided to wait for more concrete evidence. I felt I needed something more substantial before saying anything. I continued to quietly watch David's actions thereafter. while feeling that the piece of our home was beginning to crumble. I still hadn't found the right way to handle it. Deep inside, I was conflicted, but desperately wanted to resolve this situation. One evening, Tom and Olivia came back to their childhood home. Although both are grown and independent, they still come back for family events, and everyone gathers together for meals. Then, Tom voiced a concern.
Dad, he's been saying he's busy lately, but is it really just work?
It feels like he's drifting away from home.
Olivia agreed and added, I've been worried too, but I didn't say anything because I didn't want you guys to worry. I could only agree with my children's words and told them the truth. That night, the family dined together for the first time in a while, but the conversation centered around David, and everyone's expressions were somber.
Mom, if there's a problem, we want you to tell us too. We're family after all.
Tom said earnestly.
That's right. If Dad is dealing with something, maybe we can help solve it together.
Thank you. We can't go on like this. I'll have a proper talk with David. I promised. Even though our children were adults and independent, the bond as a family was still deep, and it was comforting to see them seriously addressing the changes in their father. I was waiting for David's late return home again that day. The clock had already struck midnight, and the house was eerily quiet. Soon, I heard the sound of the front door unlocking, and David quietly entered the house.
Hi.
How was your day? You're late again today.
Yeah, I've been really busy lately. There are also work-related social commitments.
I see, but try to make some time to relax occasionally. Saying this, I took David's coat. Accidentally, a folded piece of paper fell from the coat pocket to the floor. As I picked it up, I casually unfolded it. The note, written in feminine handwriting, read, I had a great time today. I want to see you again. Love, Emma. I could hear David heading towards the bathroom. It was clear what this piece of paper meant. While anger and a sense of betrayal swirled within me, I decided to stay calm and think carefully about how to handle this evidence. I chose to store the note somewhere and plan my next steps. I decided to keep it quiet and hold on to it as evidence without saying anything. And I decided not to mention anything to David yet, and to further observe his actions. The next morning, I prepared breakfast as usual and sat opposite David. He seemed unchanged, reading the newspaper, but my heart was heavy with the weight of the message I had seen the night before. David, what are your plans for today?
Yeah, it's the usual. Anything up?
No, it's nothing. From that moment, I couldn't trust David anymore and just quietly began to plan my next move. On a typically quiet weekend morning, as I was making coffee in the kitchen, David suddenly appeared in the living room with a serious look on his face. David, what's wrong? You look so serious. After a moment of silence, he finally spoke.
Mary, please sit down.
As I felt my heart rate increase, I sat down on the sofa.
The truth is, Mary, I'm fed up with our mundane life together.
What do you mean?
Here's someone else I've been thinking about starting a new life with. I want to build a future together with her.
Someone else? David, does that mean?
It's Emma. We met through work and naturally grew closer as we worked on projects together. We really click in terms of our thoughts.
Emma, the young employee from that company you mentioned before?
Yes, that Emma. She's very bright and energetic and full of new ideas. We want to start a new business together, and we think the best way to do that is to live together.
After 25 years together, raising our children, I thought we were going to be together forever. Why?
Unfortunately, Mary, I can't be with you anymore. I want to start a new life with Emma. So, I want to cut ties with you. I want a divorce.
Filled with shock and sorrow, I was speechless for several minutes. Do you think you can just throw away everything about us, about our children, and be happy?
I'm serious. I want to make her happy. So sign the divorce papers under these terms.
David placed a piece of paper on the table. I took the document he handed me and began to read it quietly, filled with anxiety and tension. The document outlined the divorce terms David was proposing, which were disadvantageous to me. He intended to keep most of the assets for his new life with Emma, providing me only with a minimal monthly alimony. It also stated that our shared home was to be sold. My options were limited, and all I was offered was scant compensation for my past contributions and devotion. David, what is this?
I need funds for our future with Emma. You'll have to manage with this.
How am I supposed to manage on this amount? Are you saying our 25 years of marriage is only worth this much?
Yeah, that's about right.
You're telling me, a homemaker all these years, to go work and fend for myself?
Well, yeah, that's pretty much it.
You were the one who wanted me to be a homemaker when the kids were born, to support the family.
You did well all these years.
And you're selling the house too?
Yes, the paperwork is already done, so please move out soon.
What? What are you talking about? This is too sudden. What about the kids?
The kids are adults now and independent. They don't need us.
I can't accept these terms.
There's nothing I can do about that. Just accept it. I've already decided. I'm going now. Please file the divorce papers. Bye.
David, wait. This can't be happening. Anger welled up inside me, and soon it turned into tears. Just when I thought the kids were independent and we could finally spend time as a couple. The next day, I took a deep breath in the home office and picked up the phone. I dialed the lawyer's number and pressed the call button amidst my nervousness. Hello, this is Mary. Well, I need some advice. A calm voice from the lawyer came through on the other end.
Yes, Mary. What can I do for you?
My husband. He's involved with another woman, and I'm considering a divorce, but he's pushing very unfair terms on me.
Understood. Let's first get a clear understanding of the facts. Evidence will be crucial here.
Then, I went to the city office to submit the divorce papers. 25 years, gone just like that. A few days later, I visited the lawyer's office and provided detailed information about David and Emma's relationship that I had gathered.
These are very strong pieces of evidence. Based on these facts that David has hidden, we can negotiate the unfair divorce terms.
Thank you. I'm ready to fight this, for my kids and for myself. A few days later, I received further contact from the lawyer and headed to his office. Holding a document in his hand, the lawyer said,
Mary, we have uncovered new information. It has been revealed that David already has a kid with Emma.
What? A kid? Already?
Yes. From the birth certificate and their joint mortgage, this fact has been confirmed. This information will be a very advantageous point in your divorce proceedings.
He deceived us and even had a kid. It was an unforgivable fact. This will be a big blow to David, won't it?
Of course. This crucial information that David hid can be a reason to increase your alimony.
I packed my belongings and left the house I had lived in for a long time. I then decided to tell my children, Tom and Olivia, about it.
Mom, what's going on? Why are you here? What about the house?
I'm sorry to call you both like this. David and I are getting a divorce. He has someone else.
What? What do you mean? Tell us everything.
Mom, is that true? Why would Dad do something like that?
And also, it turns out he already has a kid in secret.
That's just terrible. It's unforgivable, even though you're here. What happened to our house?
David sold it on his own to fund his new business with her. They are planning to start a new business together.
And he kicked you out for that? I can't believe it.
Is there anything we can do right now? We're here for you, Mom.
Thank you. Just hearing you say that makes me feel much stronger. Actually, I'm consulting with a lawyer and preparing to legally fight this.
Mom, if there's anything we can help with, just let us know. Collecting evidence or anything to support you emotionally.
I was on the verge of tears from their words, filled with gratitude. Thank you, truly. It's reassuring to have you both with me. That night, we discussed our plans as a family. Olivia decided to use her research skills to handle gathering information online. Tom focused on organizing records of conversations with David. I headed to the kitchen to start preparing dinner. I'm so fortunate to have a family that unites like this. Tom and Olivia exchanged glances and smiled at each other. Later, we gathered as a family to do a final review of the evidence they had collected. Pointing at the laptop screen, Olivia said,
Look at this, Mom. These are photos Emma posted on social media. Lots of pictures of the new house and with the child, all presented like a happy family.
Emma had been updating her life as a glamorous influencer through her social media, branding herself as a wealthy mom struggling with childcare, frequently posting pictures of expensive interiors, her new house, and her happy family life. These posts were receiving lots of praise from her followers.
Can you believe the nerve? It's unforgivable.
Yeah, David's girlfriend is so young, Tom continued.
And here's the evidence that the house was sold. It's a copy of the contract. Both Dad's and Emma's names are on it. There's also information on the mortgage application for the new house.
Thank you, both of you. Let's pass all this to the lawyer.
But I just thought of something. Leave it to me.
What are you thinking?
Just trust me.
I didn't understand what Olivia meant. We have all the evidence we need. I will not forgive those two. One day, I unexpectedly ran into Emma at a cafe. Emma was cheerfully chatting with a friend in a corner of the cafe. And there she was, confidently holding her illegitimate child. I approached her calmly and politely. Emma, could we talk for a moment?
What do you want? Well, David's ex-wife?
Yes, I am David's ex-wife. Emma, I'm glad to see you're happy, but don't assume this happiness will last forever. He has betrayed a family once. He might do it again.
What are you talking about? You're an old lady. I'm still young. David wouldn't let me go.
Also, are you aware that the child you're holding was used to disadvantage me in our divorce? David hid the child's existence from me and presented very unfavorable terms.
What? What are you talking about, old lady? David was just fed up with his marriage to you. It has nothing to do with us.
No, it does matter. You and that child have influenced the terms of my divorce. You should be aware of that.
So what? We love each other. Whatever a person from the past like you says doesn't matter to us.
If there is love, that's fine. But don't forget what David has done in the past. There was love between us two, but in the end, I was betrayed. And not just me. You and that child might be treated the same way in the future.
That's just your sour grapes. It's pointless to target us.
But remember, you two will never find happiness. With those words, I left the cafe.
That old lady is so annoying.
I heard Emma's voice, but I didn't care. Those two will surely suffer from now on. We sat at the negotiation table, accompanied by our lawyer.
in a tense atmosphere. The air was thick with tension. David confidently stepped forward and began speaking with arrogance.
As you can see, I'm moving forward to build a new family. Mary, I'll provide you with the bare minimum for living expenses. That should be enough. My new family needs more money.
David, I've been by your side supporting our family for 25 years. You've seen the children grow. Are you trying to settle all that just with some amount of money? Do you think that's fair? Tom stepped forward, confronting David.
Dad, do you really think this is okay? Betraying your family just so you can be happy?
Olivia joined forcefully.
Dad, are you really okay with destroying everything you've built up to now and just walking away unscathed? We can't just overlook what you're doing.
David couldn't hide his irritation.
I'm just pursuing my own happiness. Is there a problem with that?
The problem is that you're pursuing your happiness by ignoring ours, and in the process, you've hurt and used us.
We stand with Mom. Everyone should know how cruel you've been.
Here's all the evidence. Dad, your selfish plans are all documented here. If this goes public, you'll lose your social standing and everything.
As Tom and Olivia laid out the evidence on the table, David maintained his self-justifying demeanor.
Go ahead and try. I haven't done anything wrong. It's my life, my choice.
I took a deep breath and responded calmly. David, no matter what you say, the facts won't change. The evidence we have is enough to expose your actions to the public. David flinched for a moment, but quickly regained his composure and spoke more arrogantly.
Don't joke with me. I've always carved my own path. Do you think you can stop me now?
The discussion was far from being resolved. From now on, we will communicate through the lawyer here, so there won't be any need for us to meet again. Lawyer, please take it from here.
Yes, I will ensure a legitimate claim for alimony, so please rest assured.
I can't deal with this.
With those words, David stormed out. What a selfish person. I felt sad to think I had spent 25 years with someone like that. The next day, Olivia took action. She decided to leave a comment on Emma's latest post. Olivia responded to Emma's latest post with deep anger and disappointment, writing the following.
Emma, your posts always depict a perfect family life. However, don't forget the truth that my father, a small company owner, abandoned my mother after 25 years to start a life with you. My mother was coerced into agreeing to a divorce under unfavorable conditions. Moreover, the fact that there was already a child between you two was hidden, and he sold the house we had lived in for many years to build a new one with the money.
This comment quickly spread among other users and became a major topic of discussion. Many followers reacted to the post, and the debate over Emma and David's actions intensified. The media also picked up on the story, exposing David's personal life and his treatment of his family. So this was the good thing, Olivia mentioned. After Olivia's post, Emma's social media unexpectedly blew up, and she received a barrage of critical comments. Later, the lawyer reported that after lengthy discussions with David's representative, a final agreement on the alimony claim had been reached. The alimony was settled for significantly more than the amount initially proposed by David's side. This increase was considered in light of David's infidelity and the mental impact his actions had on me and our children. Regarding the division of property, it reflected the years I contributed to our home, resulting in an appropriate share of the shared assets being allocated to me, specifically more than half of the proceeds from the house sale and a portion of David's investment assets. I'm truly grateful for the lawyer who worked diligently on my behalf. When I told Tom and Olivia about it, they seemed relieved.
That's great. Now we can move on.
Mom, I'm excited about your new start.
It seems I can finally move forward. Meanwhile, after Olivia's post, Emma's social media unexpectedly went viral, flooded with critical comments. What used to be a mix of support and criticism turned into anger and condemnation, making her a target of criticism. Emma was staring at her smartphone screen in her living room. With each scroll, new critical comments were added.
Look. Hypocrite, homewrecker. How can they deny our happiness so much? I haven't done anything wrong. This is all Olivia's fault.
Emma still believed she was not at fault.
Olivia ruined our lives.
David vented to a friend over the phone. Afterward, the new business projects that David and Emma had planned was jeopardized due to the scandal. Due to their lack of credibility as individuals, sponsors began withdrawing their support, one after another. Emma and David had set up a new office together, but it was now devoid of activity and deserted. Emma had quit her previous job and put everything into this new project, but she was now facing the reality that her decision had backfired.
What should we do now?
We have to figure something out. But the future looks grim. We've lost sponsors and credibility, and we might have to look for new jobs.
My happy married life is falling apart. Afterward, David and Emma's new business project gradually lost support due to the scandal and eventually went bankrupt due to a lack of funds. The company and office were closed, and the once busy environment was now quiet. While cleaning up the bankrupt office, David sighed.
Everything is over. There's nothing we can do.
What are we going to do now? We've lost our jobs and have nowhere to go.
I don't know either. We have nowhere to turn.
Although they tried contacting several companies, the scandal resulted in them being turned away everywhere. However, Emma continued to be dependent on social media.
Why has this happened?
Emma muttered while updating her social media profile. The Emma in the photos on the screen was smiling happily, but in reality, she had dark circles under her eyes and looked gaunt.
Look, another new comment has come in. There are still people who support me.
What does that change? Reality won't change.
David coldly replied. As time passed, a clear rift developed between them. Unable to accept reality, Emma continued to escape into the world of social media.
At least on social media, someone needs me.
One night, David spoke, deeply troubled.
Emma, this is impossible. The happy world you've created on social media is different from reality. We're no longer wealthy like before. We have to find a way to survive.
But we still love each other, don't we? What's impossible?
Emma replied in surprise.
No, I don't feel anything anymore. I've decided to escape this fake life with you. I can't even pay the mortgage on this house anymore. I've decided to sell it, so please move out soon.
That night, David packed a small bag and left, placing a completed divorce form behind. In the end, David and Emma's marriage lasted less than 6 months. Emma, unable to sustain herself, went back to her parents' home. However, living there like a person with no job or duties, she was soon kicked out, and her parents took over raising her kid. Emma is now working at a supermarket. Meanwhile, David started working at a local factory during the day, living far from the wealthy life he once had, now in a shabby apartment. As for me, after the divorce, I decided to start working again. Having supported my family for many years as a stay-at-home mom, cooking was one thing I excelled at, because it had always been my way of expressing love. Tom and Olivia often come over to eat.
Mom, your cooking is really delicious. Why don't you post it on social media?
Do you think I can do it?
Sure, I'll help you.
Thus, I decided to capitalize on my strengths and find a new sense of self through cooking. Cooking was always for the family, but now I hope to bring joy to more people. I thought as I experimented with new recipes in the kitchen. I took a photo of the finished dish with my smartphone and decided to upload it to social media. It was a photo of cream pasta, which I am particularly good at making, accompanied by a description stating 53 years old, living alone, and a veteran housewife skilled in cooking. I captioned the photo, "Today's lunch is homemade cream pasta. Simple, but I'm confident in the taste," and uploaded it.
Looks delicious.
Please share the recipe.
The post quickly received reactions from followers, and comments poured in. Gradually, my follower count continued to increase, and I started a cooking blog. In the blog, I detailed the recipes of the dishes I made daily and the thoughts I put into my cooking. I also shared amusing stories about my experiences, including being 53 and divorced. The blog wasn't just about the visual appeal of the dishes, but themed around cooking with heart, which resonated with many. One day, I received a proposal to start a cooking class.
I want to learn directly from you, Mary.
A fan's voice initiated it. For my first class, I rented a local community center and decided to teach a simple menu. On the day of the cooking class, I greeted the participants with a nervous yet expectant expression. "Hello, everyone. Let's enjoy cooking together today." I explained the cooking process carefully.
I can't believe how easy it is to make delicious food.
At the end of the cooking class, participants expressed their admiration, and I too felt the joy of discovering a new side of myself. I could feel that my love for cooking was effectively conveyed to the participants. That night, I posted about the day's class on social media. Today's cooking class was supported by so many wonderful people, and I'm filled with gratitude. I hope to continue delivering joy through delicious meals.
Just as I thought, the taste of your meals and your kind personality are truly special.
I can't believe I'm capable of this. My days are so fulfilling now. Thank you. I'm having so much fun. This new challenge will prove its significance in my life in the days to come. After I lost my husband soon after our wedding, I raised Rick by myself. One day, Rick introduced me to his fiancée, Molly. In front of Rick, she acts sweet, but when we're alone, she looks down on me and does whatever she wants. Despite my worries about letting Rick marry her, we reached the day where both families would meet. When we met Molly and her parents in a private room at the restaurant, for some reason, they smirked at me. Even after waiting a while, my appetizers still hadn't arrived. Molly's mother said to me,
"You don't get one.
"What?"
Poor people can't appreciate the taste of a nice steak."
Exactly. If we let someone with just a high school diploma eat here, it'll ruin the place's reputation.
Molly and her parents grinned with a crude smile.
Now, let's eat, Rick. Time to feast with your new family.
Rick sighed and said,
"Mom, let's go home."
"Yay." Seeing Rick's sad expression, I clenched my fists on my lap. I would never forgive them. If they thought I'd stay quiet forever, they were gravely mistaken. I'm Susan, a 50-year-old housewife. I'd been raising my son Rick by myself. After my husband suddenly passed away from illness in the 4th year of our marriage. My parents are still alive, but they live in a rural area and are currently living with my younger brother's family, so I can easily rely on them. After graduating high school, I worked a series of part-time jobs. At the time, my parents were worried about me, so I've avoided depending on them ever since. My husband's parents live nearby, but they're elderly, so it's tough to lean on them. I paid off the mortgage with my husband's life insurance, but I also needed to save for Rick's education and my retirement. To support our 2-person household, I threw myself into my work. Seeing me work so hard, Rick grew up to be an honest and kind kid. He eventually got a job and brought his fiancée home. But my joy over this sweet girl was short-lived. His fiancée and her parents were quite the characters.
She's beautiful, capable, and a wonderful person, kind and reliable too. We work on the same team at the office, and she's helped me a lot.
I want to introduce my fiancée to you, Rick said, blushing at my question. What kind of person is she? With such high praise, my expectations soared. When we finally met, she turned out to be the sweet, demure girl Rick would like.
Pleased to meet you. I'm Molly Kennedy.
She said gracefully, bowing her head. Her pink floral dress suited her translucent voice and fair skin. She brought a fruit cake from an upscale pastry shop as a gift. Oh, I also made one. Looks like we picked the same thing. When I offered Molly some banana cake and tea on the living room sofa, she raised an eyebrow slightly.
It's fine. I love it.
Rick said with a smile, urging Molly next to him.
Mom makes great cake.
Susan, are you good at cooking?
I only do baked cakes. I corrected her with a laugh. It's refreshing to bake between work. It's fun. Molly squinted. After sharing stories about how they met at work, Molly looked around the room and brightly remarked,
Still, Rick's house is so compact.
It's small, right? And the yard isn't big either.
Rick said with a carefree laugh.
Mom, Molly's family home is a 6-bedroom mansion with a 700 square meters lot and parking for 5 cars. The yard is like a park, spacious and beautiful.
Wow, that's impressive. I responded with an exclamation. But if I'm living alone, this size is just right for me.
True, it's a hassle hiring housekeeper.
I had a question for her. Is your father the president of the Kennedy Group, a restaurant chain? Molly's expression brightened.
Yes, my mother's father was the original president, and my dad took over after him. You know a lot.
I used to work there part-time years ago.
Oh, I see.
Molly gave a knowing smile. You're the daughter of a company president, Molly.
Oh no, it's not such a big deal.
She demurred, waving her hand modestly.
I went to the same prestigious girls' school as my mom, from middle school to college. So when I joined the workforce, I had a hard time getting used to men.
Molly's shy smile and gentle speech exuded elegance. She had that vibe of being a well-bred young lady. Does that mean they expect Rick to join their family? While I was pondering that, Rick's phone rang. After checking the caller, he apologized and picked up.
Sorry, but I'm in the middle of a family meeting, talking about work. What?
Rick's face went pale.
I see. Okay, I'll be right there.
He hung up and apologized to us.
Sorry, it looks like a coworker messed up a deal. Molly, I'll stop by the office and then come right back, so can you wait here?
Molly was momentarily taken aback, but quickly put on a smile.
Got it. Don't worry about me.
Thanks. I'll be back soon, Mom.
With his work bag in hand, Rick left the house, leaving Molly and me to share a vague smile. Spending time alone with someone I just met was awkward, especially given our roles as future mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. As I stood there unsure, Molly stood up, picked up the tray of tea and cake.
Where do you throw away food scraps?
The trash can is in the corner of the kitchen. Ignoring my puzzled expression, she hurried to the kitchen. Growing suspicious, I followed her only to see her toss my homemade cake into the trash. Molly emptied the tea into the sink and clattered the empty dishes onto the countertop. When I was taken aback, she said in a cold voice like a different person,
This disgusting stuff makes me sick. Homemade cake is revolting.
She glanced at the tea packages through the glass cupboard door and sneered.
Unlike you commoners, I only drink the kind of tea served to the British royal family. This cramped house is already suffocating, and with this kind of food, I could vomit.
Leaving me standing in the kitchen, she stormed back to the living room. I followed her, still shocked, and saw her snapping photos of my home's interior with her phone and sending them to her parents.
See, my mom and dad are laughing too. Look.
She showed me her phone, and I couldn't believe my eyes at the messages.
The taste of this commoner's home is hilarious.
People actually live in a house that small. Amazing.
Can I take a picture of the garden? Must be easy to maintain since you don't need a gardener. I'm so jealous.
Until Rick returned home later, Molly continued to ridicule our way of life. I realized she despised me, looking down on me for being common. Despite her mockery of my home, she genuinely seemed to want to marry Rick, often asking me questions.
I want to buy Rick a watch as his birthday gift. Does he have a preferred brand? What foods does Rick dislike? We're going out for a picnic this weekend.
Though I was appalled by her nerve, I answered her kindly each time, not wanting to create tension between her and Rick. One day, Molly called me.
Rick's been asked to organize his high school reunion. He wanted to check his yearbook at your place, but he just got a sudden business trip, so I'll come to get it for him.
Dreading her visit, I reluctantly agreed. To avoid any complaints, I prepared premium tea and cookies from a traditional brand, but to my surprise, Molly brought her mother along.
Nice to meet you. I'm Karen, Molly's mother.
With her permed long hair and strong perfume, Karen was heavily made up and looked much younger than her age. Molly, why did you bring your mother? I asked curiously.
Mom wanted to see a small commoner's house.
Sorry for dropping by like this.
Karen said with a grin.
Your house has 4 bedrooms, right? All my friends live in luxury high-rise apartment and upscale neighborhoods. When Molly told me about your place, I got curious and wanted to see it with my own eyes.
I was speechless at their rude remarks, while Molly listened with a smile beside her mom. What do these two think other people's homes are for? That pissed me off, but I can't be bothered to refuse them. I reluctantly invited them in. Sure enough, Molly and Karen rummaged through the house, barely focusing on their original purpose. Without my permission, they opened the bathroom, toilet, and hallway closets, gasping with amazement.
Oh my, this bath doesn't even have a jacuzzi, and it's so tiny, you can't possibly relax in here.
It's okay for me. I forced a smile despite my twitching cheeks.
This garden is smaller than our entrance hall. Is there any point to it?
If it's too big, it's hard to manage.
Oh, you can't afford a gardener, right? Then it can't be helped.
After criticizing my house from every angle, Molly and Karen sat in the living room, enjoying tea and cookies while chatting.
I was horrified thinking Rick grew up in a dump, but it's better than I expected.
Really? But isn't it still cramped?
Karen chided Molly's protests.
Well, but calling it a kennel is too harsh. Our Carlos room is 20 square meters.
Oh, right.
Barely containing my anger at their insults, I watched the two finish their tea and stand up, smiling at me.
Thanks for letting us see something unusual. We had fun.
It was a good way to kill some time, wasn't it, Mom? I could never live here, but coming by sometimes would be all right.
I'd never want to live with a daughter-in-law like you either. Swallowing my words, I mustered a fake smile. I'm glad you liked it. Don't forget Rick's yearbook.
I got it right here.
Molly held up the yearbook she took from Rick's shelf and left with Karen. After they left, I sank into the sofa, exhausted. The fatigue washed over me all at once. Rick's simple nature probably meant he was completely fooled by Molly's sweet act. Is he really going to be all right marrying her? Worry flooded my mind, but thinking of how hurt Rick would be if he discovered her true nature, I hesitated to speak up and time passed by. One day, Rick contacted me.
We want to have the families meet at the end of the month. Does that work for you, Mom?
I'm free on weekends, so whenever is fine. Feeling curious, I asked. You've already met Molly's mother, right?
Yeah, she's bright and pleasant.
I see. It seemed they were both putting on an act around Rick. After hanging up, Rick sent the date and name of the upscale restaurant, along with a photo. I booked a salon appointment and decided to wear a new suit. But as the day approached, my anxiety grew. Is it really okay to let my precious son marry someone like her? Her mother belittled me too. And her father is likely similar. To ease my concerns, I devised a plan. On the day of the family meeting, Rick and I arrived at the restaurant. Molly was waiting at the entrance with her parents. At first glance, Molly seemed like a refined young lady. Karen, with her perfect makeup, also radiated an air of elegance. Her father I was meeting for the first time, Michael, was a tall man with handsome features. As he greeted Rick and me with a smile, I couldn't help but feel that he, too, looked down on me inside. Led by the waitress, we moved to a private room, suitable for a pre-marriage meeting. Full of ambience and overlooking a garden in the backyard. The meeting started off pleasantly under Michael's lead, but I soon felt uncomfortable. As Rick began introducing us, Molly, Michael, and Karen continuously interrupted him.
My mother lost my father after 4 years of marriage and raised me on her own.
Such a boring story. Who cares? Look at this instead, Mom.
Molly interrupted, flaunting her engagement ring to Karen and Michael. They both burst into excitement.
No, that's the designer brand Molly loves for her engagement ring.
Molly is so loved.
Michael, crossing his arms, bragged as if it was his own achievement.
I heard Rick was a rising star when I did business with his company. He's a senior manager at such a young age, isn't he? I'm proud of him.
Oh, it was just that a recent project went well, and that was thanks to the advice I got from my mom.
As Rick modestly deflected, Karen leaned in.
Among all the young employees at headquarters, he stands out a head above the rest, doesn't he? Straight on the elite track. Molly, you've snagged a good one.
Right? Graduated straight from that prestigious university. Rick is definitely a match for me, a president's daughter.
Michael, laughing heartily, slung an arm around a bewildered Rick.
I could leave my legacy to a man like you. How about becoming my family?
Rick Kennedy, that sounds cool. Much better than Rick Murphy. It's several times more appealing.
It's like he's my own son. I've always wanted a handsome and competent son. I'm so pleased.
Molly and her parents were getting excited as if I wasn't even there. Is there any point in me being here? Then, the food arrived. I was briefly relieved that I was a little distracted. But it was short-lived. The appetizers were served only in front of Molly, her parents, and Rick. Then, as the courses continued, including the main course of steak, the space in front of me remained conspicuously empty. Well, is my meal coming? I asked the waitress, who awkwardly avoided eye contact and quickly retreated. When I looked puzzled, Karen declared,
You don't have a serving.
What?
We only ordered for 4. A poor person like you wouldn't appreciate the taste of an expensive steak.
She said it with a composed face.
That's right. If we let someone with just a high school education eat here, it would lower the restaurant's standards.
Molly and Michael shook with laughter.
Come on, Rick, let's eat.
It's a feast with your new family.
Rick, his face tense, sighed deeply and said,
Mom, let's go home.
Yay.
Oh no, Rick, you can't do that. You're the main event here.
Karen protested, trying to stop him as he stood up.
The only one who should leave is the high school grad over there.
That's right. She'll ruin the taste of the food.
I clenched my fists in my lap. I couldn't stand it any longer. This time has come, and I'll throw out all the facts I have here. They were wrong if they thought I would always stay quiet. I looked at Rick, pleading with my eyes. He nodded silently. Secretly, I gripped the voice recorder I had pulled from my bag. On our way to the restaurant, I had confided to Rick in the car about everything Molly and Karen had done to me. Karen looked relieved when Rick sat down again.
Rick, you're not leaving. That's good. After all, you're going to be my son.
Mom, don't cling to him too much. Rick is going to be my husband.
Molly complained as Karen tried to hug Rick. It's okay, Molly. Karen has other favorites anyway. I said, managing a smile, which made Karen visibly stiffen.
What are you talking about?
Oh, you know what I mean, don't you? I placed the voice recorder on the table and pressed play in front of them. Suddenly, loud music inappropriate for the upscale restaurant started playing, accompanied by cheers.
Luke, don't look at other women. Hey, you, don't make eyes at Luke, he's mine.
Indeed, this was an audio I had obtained from a male host bar. I continued to play the audio next to Karen, who went pale.
Karen, you've had a bit too much to drink, haven't you? And about the bill, are you sure? It's the 4th champagne tower this month, isn't it? I'm happy, but...
It's fine, I'll have my nephew pick me up.
Her slurred response continued.
He's the head of accounting, so he'll cover this month's payment under entertainment expenses. It's good to have at least one obedient employee.
Even if she was drunk, the carelessness of discussing such matters publicly was staggering. Does obsession with a host cloud judgment this much?
For your birthday next month, I'll buy you an Italian suit and a Swiss luxury watch. So, we should go on another date outside the bar.
Karen's sugary speech was sickening. Luke, the host, sounded puzzled.
I don't mind the date, but you've been giving me gifts almost every week. Are you sure that's okay?
Don't worry about it, my Luke.
Her childish tone persisted.
I'm the vice president of Kennedy Group. I can spend as much money as I want. I got that company from my father.
Michael's cheeks twitched visibly. His polite smile had vanished, replaced by a look of anger.
The president is my husband, but he joined my family when we got married. That means the company's money is essentially mine. No one can complain.
That's so. Oh, your nephew is here.
Relief was evident in Luke's voice.
I'm sorry for always causing trouble. Auntie Karen, we should go now.
I turned off the voice recorder at this point.
What the hell is this?
Michael asked in a low, angry voice.
You've been going to the male host bar at 60. You're a disgrace.
I'm only 58. A little fun should be fine.
Karen snapped back immediately.
And why do you have such a recording?
Karen turned her anger toward me, but Rick responded calmly.
Luke is the son of a mother's acquaintance.
What?
Karen's eyes widened. I heard from an acquaintance before. They mentioned a problematic older customer who demanded returns for gifts. It was hard to say no.
Recently, I learned it was Molly's mom, so I asked Luke to record their conversations. I was planning to let Molly hear them to persuade her to stop visiting.
Michael's face turned crimson up to his neck, furiously berating Karen.
If the media catches wind of this, we'll be a laughing stock. Think about your age for once.
Then Karen twisted her lips into a sneer.
You think I don't know? You do as you please, too.
What?
Michael's cheeks contorted in anger.
Don't act dumb. You're buying an apartment for a hostess and covering her living expenses, right?
Karen pulled out her phone, and not just Michael and Molly, but Rick and I also peered in.
Your husband wants to divorce you and remarry me. What should I do?
The screen displayed a provocative message along with a photo of a man and woman lying together in bed.
When I had it checked, you're pretending to work but spending half the week at that apartment, right? And lying about playing golf on weekends to go on trips with this woman. Don't joke around.
She hurled her phone into a corner of the room, shouting,
What a cocky bar girl. If you have money to play around with, you should give me more. Who do you think got you to where you are now?
You're always so noisy.
Michael bellowed back.
You keep mocking me for being a son-in-law. It's not thanks to you. It's your father who's the significant figure. Just because you were born into money doesn't mean you can strut around. It's disgraceful.
The noise was likely audible outside the room. A waitress peered in through a slightly open door, quickly withdrew. Perhaps deciding it was better not to escalate the disturbance. The 4 premium steaks on the table cooled down.
Sorry, Rick.
Molly said, shoulders slumped as her parents argued.
My parents are like this, but my feelings for you are real.
She gently took Rick's hand, looked up at him with moist eyes, and pleaded in a sweet voice.
Please, marry me.
Rick smiled wryly, looking troubled, and replied,
Well, I'm sorry, but I refuse.
Molly's eyes widened in disbelief.
Why?
Well, because you don't really love me, do you?
Rick wore a self-deprecating smile.
No, Rick. Do you want me to say I love you in front of everyone? Oh, you're so cute.
Rick firmly told her.
You were flirting with 10, no, 20 younger co-workers from different departments, right?
I don't know about that.
As Molly's complexion changed, Rick played a recording from his phone. Both parents momentarily paused their argument to watch the unfolding drama.
Yes, during overtime. Molly kept persistently approaching me.
She confessed, but when I said I had a girlfriend, she snapped back. She said, I'm the better woman, choose me.
She invited me on an overnight trip. You're engaged to Rick, right? I asked, and she said, a little cheating is fine. She yelled at me.
When I mentioned alternating baby care shifts with my wife, she suggested an affair as a change of pace. I don't understand.
As testimony after testimony emerged, Molly froze.
I told them to keep quiet. They went and consulted Rick anyway.
After a moment of silence, Molly muttered resentfully.
Just the other day, I heard from a supervisor that co-workers were struggling to talk to me about it. That's why I spoke to them personally and decided to confront you with the recordings.
Rick continued in a calm tone, providing clarity amidst the chaos.
Molly, when I first joined the company, you seemed indifferent to me. But a year ago, you invited me to dinner, and since then, you've been coming on strong. I was glad, but something felt off.
That's because I suddenly fell in love with you. That's how love works, right?
You were interested in my title, weren't you?
He said, smiling sadly.
Even after hearing the testimony, part of me wanted to believe in you, Molly. But today, after seeing how you treated my mom, my feelings are completely gone.
Seeing Molly panic, her parents lamented loudly.
You're hopeless.
Rick Murphy is a promising candidate, and marrying him would benefit our company. We told you to win him over.
But Rick is too serious. So boring.
Molly pouted.
I'm cute,
So I can have a little fun, right?
Then go to a host bar.
The people at work would find out immediately.
Their off-track conversation made me press my temples. The whole family is just awful. As Rick and I remained silent, Michael arrogantly asked,
"You're not saying you want to cancel the wedding, are you?"
Karen also looked at Rick with a serious expression and tried to convince him.
If you marry Molly, not only will you inherit our group, but we plan to involve you in new overseas projects. You're highly regarded at headquarters, right? This is a done deal.
Rick is smart enough not to ruin such a good match.
Molly was desperately trying to get Rick's attention.
I'm offering to entrust my father's important company to you, a complete stranger. Don't you see how honorable that is?
Rick and I exchanged glances and shrugged. Your behavior so far doesn't show that you care about the company.
What do you mean?
Put your hand on your heart, or rather, this will make it clearer. I placed a voice recorder on the table and played the continuation of the conversation from the host bar that had been interrupted.
Auntie Karen, let's stop coming here for a while.
No, I don't want Luke to be taken by another woman.
You can't. The director is getting suspicious.
In a weak voice, the chief accountant spoke.
If it's discovered that you're embezzling company funds, you'll be dismissed as vice president. I'll lose my job for letting it slide, too.
Don't worry, all of our board members are idiots. They won't notice.
Did you embezzle company funds?
Michael glared at Karen with an intense expression. Even she was now pale. Molly looked at her mom in disbelief. Karen opened and closed her mouth several times before glaring at me, shouting angrily.
This conversation was in the car on the way back, right? How did you get this?
The chief accountant recorded it on his phone. When I revealed this, Karen blinked in shock.
You knew my nephew.
It wasn't the chief accountant but another executive I met through work. I clarified. A while back, he looked troubled, so I asked him what was wrong. He confided about the embezzlement issue he had learned from the chief accountant. Karen's eyes widened in shock.
Did he reveal it himself? So his sudden resignation wasn't for health reasons.
He couldn't bear the guilt any longer. Once the evidence is all lined up, you'll be ousted as vice president as well. I continued, watching as Karen gritted her teeth in frustration, while Michael and Molly looked on with sour expressions.
Using company money for your escapades at the male host bar, you foolish woman.
Mom, that's the worst. It will eventually be my company.
Enough from both of you.
Karen snapped back.
If you had let me spend freely, I would have managed within my allowance. I'm not to blame here. It's your fault and the board's.
Turning to glare at Molly, she accused.
It's because Molly is so foolish that we even had to consider bringing in a son-in-law. If we left it up to her, she'd run the company into the ground in no time.
That's awful, Mom.
I see, I said, drawing their attention. Molly's involvement in the company wasn't to gain work experience but to snag a husband.
And what's wrong with that? A low-educated poor person like you wouldn't understand our struggles.
I replied with a smile. Well, I wouldn't know about that. Things will probably get a lot tougher for you, but do try your best. I imagine the company will collapse now that I've pulled out.
Oh, how dare you act all high and mighty? Who do you think you are?
Karen exploded in anger.
Don't worry about us. We have renowned investors backing us.
Rick then spoke to me softly.
When you took over the company from the previous generation, my mom wondered if the second generation would be okay. She decided to watch over things.
That's right. I thought we'd see how things went, but it didn't even last 10 years. Looking over at Molly and her parents, I stated firmly, "Today's meeting was the last straw. I'm pulling out."
What are you talking about?
It's about my mom's work. You interrupted me during the family introduction, so I couldn't talk about it.
The in-laws gasped, sharing a look of disbelief.
Impossible. A high school grad, a poor person, couldn't possibly manage a career that requires intellect.
Too bad for you. I didn't go to college, but I paved my own way with the efforts I made afterward. I said sharply. I saved up money from part-time jobs to study asset management. Now, I also create content about financial management and have published manuals. I operate under a channel name, so except for my subscribers, no one knows my face. As I showed them my mobile videos, Molly and her parents stared at my face as if seeing it for the first time.
It can't be true.
You've ridiculed me enough, but I've been living a far more decent life than any of you. As I smiled, the three of them shrank back, their faces filled with embarrassment. "Let's go home, Rick."
Wait.
Molly called out, stopping us. Her parents quickly seized the opportunity to apologize.
We truly regret our many inappropriate comments.
Rick, please reconsider.
Molly pleaded, clinging to Rick's arm with a desperate sweetness in her voice.
I'll even break it off with the person I'm currently seeing on the side. Please.
You're cheating on me.
Rick half laughed, clearly unmoved by Molly's display of affection. Her parents joined in her plea.
Please give us another chance to make things right. Let's have another meeting.
I refuse.
Rick stated coldly.
I won't demand any compensation for this broken engagement. But let's not meet again. Please don't even speak to me at work.
But
Suddenly, Karen stood up, her face contorted with fury as she berated Rick.
How dare you, the son of a poor man, refuse an engagement like it's beneath you? You should be grateful for the attention.
Hey, stop.
Michael tried to intervene, but Karen brushed him off, raising her voice even louder.
Being married to my daughter would elevate you. You could have been the manager of our main store and contributed to our company.
Please stop it.
Mom, that's enough.
A waitress approached amid the commotion, her expression grim.
Please, could you keep it down? You're disturbing the other customers.
How dare you speak to me like that? Who do you think you are to order me around?
Karen shouted back at the waitress, who quickly retreated. As we tried to calm Karen, police officers arrived.
You're under arrest for causing a disturbance.
What? I haven't done anything.
Other customers complained that it was too noisy.
2 policemen seized a violent Karen and took her out of the crowded store and to a police car. Michael and Molly went to the police station for questioning while we left the restaurant, apologizing to the staff for the unpleasant scene. Karen was only reprimanded by the restaurant due to it being her first offense. However, the incident was widely reported online, exposing her embezzlement and extravagant spending at host bars. The resultant public backlash led to a significant drop in customers, forcing many of the company's restaurants to close. 6 months later, the company declared bankruptcy. Currently, Michael and his relatives are scrambling to secure funds for a potential recovery. Karen has lost trust among her family and faced a divorce from Michael. Although she received half of their assets, she had to use them to repay the embezzled funds, leaving her without any disposable income. Forbidden from visiting host bars and unable to maintain her lavish lifestyle, Karen has aged significantly. She now lives with Molly in an apartment, and their relationship has deteriorated into constant quarrels. Molly, after being reprimanded by her boss for aggressively pursuing multiple colleagues, submitted her resignation. Struggling to find a steady job, her reputation often precedes her, making it difficult to maintain employment. Rick, meanwhile, has moved on from the ordeal. Valued by his superiors and beloved by colleagues, he's thriving in his career, taking on significant projects and progressing well on his professional path. As a mother, my primary concern is for Rick's well-being. I hope he takes care not to overwork himself. Now, I optimistically wait for the day when Rick introduces a genuinely kind and beautiful young woman, both inside and out, to me.
Make up for my late wife and son by making you happy.
I almost blurted out, "Huh? Whose wife and son is he talking about?" As I listened more closely, Ted said something even more shocking.
Since I've lost everything, you're the only one I have left. Marry me.
I can't believe Ted is acting like my son and I are dead. To lie like that, and even propose to a young woman. Of course, I can't just stay quiet. When I looked at John, he nodded back at me. Then, we stood up and walked toward Ted. "Hello, we're the supposedly dead family."
We've come back from the other side just for you, Dad.
Ted's eyes widened in shock as we appeared. That's when John and I started our payback against Ted. My name is Karen. I've been married for 24 years, and I'm a 48-year-old housewife. I grew up as an only child in a household with both parents being high school teachers. When I was little, my grandmother took care of me, but after she passed away during my middle school years, I spent a lot of time alone. Since my dad was the baseball coach and my mom was the volleyball coach, they were often not home during long vacations like summer break. Seeing my friends' families, where mothers were either housewives or part-timers and home in the evenings, made me feel envious. That's why I decided that when I got married and had kids, I would not work and stay home to take care of my family. I was originally shy and never had a boyfriend until I graduated from college. Perhaps out of concern for me, my mom introduced me to a young male colleague soon after I graduated. His name was Ted. He was tall and handsome. According to my mom, He was sociable and well-liked by his students. He seemed too good for someone quiet and plain like me. However, because he respected my mom as a senior teacher, he genuinely faced me. A year after we met, I married Ted. I told Ted that, having felt lonely as a child, I wanted to stay home and take care of my family after getting married. He agreed, saying that since both of his parents worked, he had felt the same way and wanted me to stay at home. Ted shared my values. I believed that with him, I could build a happy family, or so I thought. Ted, with his sociable personality, valued his relationships with colleagues and former students. While that was good, it meant he often neglected family matters. We barely conversed, and when he did talk to me, it was usually to ask me to do something.
Karen, you became a housewife to take care of the household. So I'm grateful I can rely on you for anything.
Ted always flattered me like that and left everything to me, even things he could do himself. But hearing that made me feel needed, and I couldn't help but take it positively. In such situations, one might say, "I'm not your housemaid," in anger. Furthermore, ever since we got married, Ted was never home on weekend nights. He always went out drinking with colleagues or former students who had become working adults. I had heard from my parents that many teachers used to drink to relieve stress. However, my parents were different. My mom didn't drink, and my dad rarely went out drinking to be considerate of her. So, seeing Ted's lifestyle, I realized that some teachers really did enjoy going out drinking. Still, as long as it didn't affect our living expenses, I didn't say anything at first. But as Ted didn't reduce his drinking outings, even after our child was born, my frustration grew. Ted, I understand that socializing is important, but can't you turn down invitations sometimes? Having endured it without saying anything, I couldn't help but ask. Ted replied with a slightly perplexed expression.
Oh, why are you asking that now? You've never said anything before.
Well, I know teachers have a lot of social obligations, but I want you to value the time at home for John's sake too. I said it for the sake of my son, John, but Ted furrowed his brows, seemingly annoyed.
Listen, Karen, both your parents are teachers, right? So, even if there's a problem, you have someone close to consult. But I don't have that. So I have no choice but to go out drinking with other teachers.
Ted insisted on his position as a teacher. Hearing that made me feel sad, thinking that since I wasn't working, I couldn't be of any help to Ted. Regardless of my feelings, it's lonely for our son, John, to have his father absent every weekend night. I just wanted Ted to properly face John. But Ted didn't seem to understand my feelings. Even though I felt that way, I couldn't say anything back. Despite my frustration, there was nothing I could do, and a gap slowly formed between us. That said, there were still some enjoyable moments in our current life. Ted, being popular with his students, often had former students who had already graduated and become working adults visit our home. Especially in the past 5 or 6 years, two former students, who were class mood makers, started visiting frequently. Their names were Eddie and Richard. They had graduated from college and entered the workforce, but still visited us during their breaks. Thanks to them, Ted's weekend drinking outings had decreased over the years. John, being a senior in college, had become good friends with these two, given their close ages. I also felt happy whenever these cheerful and kind young men visited our home. They always brought cakes for me whenever they visited. Today, too, they came over with cakes during their day off. However, Ted had been out since morning. "Eddie, Richard, I'm sorry. My husband left last night and hasn't come back yet." As I greeted them, they looked at me somewhat awkwardly. They might have felt sorry for coming over when Ted wasn't home.
No, we should be the ones apologizing for intruding when he isn't home. But, is John here?
"Oh, John, yes, he's here." Hearing this, John came out of his room. Or rather, it seemed he had been waiting for them, as he was already dressed to go out.
Mom, I'm going out with Eddie and Richard for a bit.
John left the house with them, still looking somewhat troubled. It seemed they had something to talk about that they didn't want me to hear. Well, as a boy of his age, he might have concerns he can't share with his mother. Despite my worries, I silently saw the three of them off. Then, as I passed by John's room, I noticed his phone ringing. It's unusual for John to forget his phone. I entered John's room and reached for his phone. At that moment, I accidentally touched the unlocked screen and gasped. It was a message from Eddie. An image had been sent, showing Ted with his arm around a young woman, entering a hotel. The message read,
I don't want to believe it, but the woman with your dad looks like a waitress. I followed them from the club.
John's reply was,
I won't tell Mom. It would devastate her.
That's why Eddie and Richard had come to see John. Or perhaps, if Ted had been home, they might have confronted him. In any case, my mind was in chaos. I couldn't believe Ted was having an affair. I wanted to confront him directly, but I held back. I didn't want to burden John, who was in the middle of job hunting, with our marital issues. So, I decided to pretend I hadn't seen the message for now. A while later, John came back, still looking troubled. I greeted him, trying to maintain my composure. Just then, Ted returned home. Ted looked at us curiously.
What's up with you two, just standing there?
The atmosphere was awkward. John was probably trying to hide the truth from me. For a while, John and I continued to act normally around Ted as if nothing had happened. Months passed, and it was almost Christmas. We planned to celebrate both Christmas Eve and John's job offer as a family. However, I was still troubled by Ted's affair and couldn't bring myself to speak up. Then, Ted said something unexpected.
I'm going to a Christmas party on the 24th, so I won't need dinner.
Since the 24th was the last day of school, it made sense that there would be a party. But given the date, I wondered if he was lying. Even so, I couldn't confront him and simply replied, "Okay." Recently, conversations with Ted had dwindled, and I felt stifled every day. Seeing this, John tried to cheer me up.
Mom, I got 2 dinner tickets for a hotel where Eddie's relative works. It's for the 24th. Let's go together.
Really, you're inviting me? Don't you have anyone else to go with? A bit embarrassed by John's invitation, I asked.
No. Eddie and Richard have plans that day. Plus, my school friends are spending it with their girlfriends.
Since John was trying to make me feel better, I decided to accept his invitation. It's been years since John and I went out to eat together. Moreover, since it was a fancy hotel, I decided to dress up a bit. I was looking forward to it, not knowing that day would bring unexpected misfortune. Then, on the night of the 24th, John and I went to the hotel for dinner. The hotel was even more luxurious than I had imagined, and I was momentarily overwhelmed. Feeling nervous, I entered the restaurant on the top floor, and the waiter led us to our table. It felt more like a place for lovers proposing than a place for a parent and child to dine. Looking around, most of the patrons were young couples. Especially the couple seated by the window, with a woman in flashy makeup and fashion and... oh. Seeing the man across from the woman, I couldn't believe my eyes. I hadn't noticed at first since his back was to me, but it was Ted. Ted was dressed in a formal suit I'd never seen before. He must have bought or rented it for this occasion. I was frozen, unable to move. John probably hadn't noticed Ted yet, so I tried to remain calm. But since our tables were close, I could clearly hear Ted's voice.
To make up for my late wife and son, I will make you happy.
I almost blurted out, "Huh? Whose wife and son is he talking about?" As I listened more closely, Ted said something even more shocking.
Since I've lost everything, you're the only one I have left. Marry me.
Is it really okay with someone like me? I'm so happy.
Their table was by a large window offering a panoramic view of the city nightscape. In such a romantic setting, the proposal must have moved her deeply. John, sitting across from me, seemed to recognize his father's voice and started to turn around. "John, wait a minute." I hastily stopped John, trying to prevent him from seeing Ted's face. But John had already realized that the man proposing to a strange woman was his father. John and I listened in silence. Ted's proposal continued.
You're amazing. After losing my wife and son, I lost the will to live. But thanks to you, my future looks bright.
Really? You need me that much?
Of course. Meeting you makes me want to thank my deceased family.
Ted, speaking sweet words, pulled something out of his pocket. It looked like an engagement ring. The ring she was admiring looked much more expensive than the one I got. I can't forgive Ted for pretending my son and I are dead. To lie like that, and even propose to such a young woman. Of course, I can't stay silent. When I looked at John, he nodded. Then, we stood up and walked towards Ted. "Hello, We're the supposedly dead family.
Hey, we came back from the other side just for you, Dad.
Ted's eyes widened in shock at our sudden appearance. His bewildered mistress looked confused.
Who are these people? That old lady and the guy who looks like a mama's boy. Are they friends of Ted?
Who knows? I don't know them. It's probably some prank. Just ignore them.
Ted tried to dismiss us, but sweat was dripping down his forehead. Thinking we were just a prank, the mistress glared at us.
What do you want, lady? Stop ruining our happiness with your weird harassment.
It's not harassment, you've been deceived. This man is Ted Omar, he's my husband.
Oh, his name matches. But do you have any proof that he's your husband? If you keep making false accusations, I'll call the police.
I have proof right here.
John said, taking an envelope from his bag. Inside was his birth certificate. Amy, the mistress, snatched it and showed it to Ted.
What? What is this? You said he lost your wife and child.
Confronted by Ayu, Ted shrank back, unable to say anything. I wondered why John had prepared such a thing. Seeing my puzzled look, John seemed to understand my question. He looked at Ted and said,
Dad, I've known about your affair with this woman for a while. I found out you'd be meeting her here today.
What are you talking about?
Ted, even now, tried to play dumb. He's such a shameless man.
Damn it.
John snorted at those words.
You can't deny it any longer, Dad. I recorded your proposal on my phone.
What are you talking about? You don't even have your phone on you.
The lawyer over there is holding it for me.
When John pointed to the other table, I saw a man in his 50s sitting with Richard. Moreover, Eddie emerged from the back of the restaurant. It seemed they had planned this confrontation to expose Ted's affair. I was surprised that John had orchestrated everything. The man sitting with Richard approached us and bowed slightly.
Hello, I'm Richard's father. Mr. Omar has always been helpful to my son.
Oh, you're Richard's father. It's been a while.
No, this is our first meeting. My wife has handled everything regarding our son's school, to my shame.
By the way, are you here with your family for dinner?
Ted seemed puzzled about why Richard and his father were at such a place. Then Richard spoke up from beside his father.
Mr. Omar, actually, I asked my dad to look into something. He's a lawyer, and when I told him about the situation, he investigated you. He found out you'd be here today with your mistress.
Ted showed a look of shock upon hearing that Richard's father was a lawyer and had investigated him. Obviously, Ted was surprised because he had something to hide. I also hadn't expected them to involve a lawyer. Ted glared at me with sharp eyes.
Aaron, what is the meaning of this?
I don't know. I had no idea.
Dad, Mom had nothing to do with this. It was all our doing.
Ted's eyes widened even more, stunned by John's words. I, too, wondered why John had gone to such lengths. Then John explained the events. Eddie sent him the line message with the photo of Ted's affair. John had been consulting with Eddie and Richard about what to do without letting me find out. However, They couldn't come up with a solution on their own, so Richard consulted his father. Richard's father took on the task of investigating Ted, even though it wasn't work-related. Moreover, the restaurant where Ted had arranged to meet his mistress was one where Eddie's relative worked. That's how John got the dinner tickets to stake out Ted.
I was torn about bringing Mom, but I wanted to get to the bottom of this. I couldn't stand watching you and Dad pretending to be a happy couple.
So that's why John invited me here. I had always thought of John as a child. I was surprised to see how much he cared about his parents and how much he had matured. As I was lost in these thoughts, Richard suddenly made a surprising statement to Ted.
Mr. Omar, my dad found out that Amy, your mistress, is actually Emmy Henderson, who was in the same class as Eddie and me in our freshman year.
What? Her name is supposed to be Amy Kirk. It's on her business card.
That's her stage name. Mr. Omar, don't you remember? She's Emily Henderson, who dropped out in September of our freshman year. That's her, Emily Henderson.
Confronted by Richard, Ted stared intently at Amy's face.
Amy, are you really that Henderson?
What are you talking about? Who's Henderson? I don't know anyone by that name.
Amy denied it desperately, but she clearly looked flustered. Seeing her reaction, Richard showed a picture on his phone and said,
My friend happened to go to the same middle school as Yamaguchi and showed me their yearbook. I took a photo of Emily Henderson from it. Look, the large mole under her left eye, just like yours.
Richard pointed at Amy's face. Amy instinctively covered the area under her eye with her hand, but it was too late. Giving up, Amy smirked and said,
Fine, you got me. Yes, I'm Emily Henderson, who was in Mr. Omar's class in freshman year. I couldn't stay in school because of him.
The room fell silent at Amy's sudden change in demeanor. What was she planning by approaching Ted? While I pondered this, Ted asked Amy first.
You couldn't stay in school because of me. What do you mean by that?
You wouldn't remember. To you, I was just a shadow.
Amy began recounting her story from back then. When she started school, she was isolated and couldn't fit in with the class. She struggled with her studies and wanted to talk to her homeroom teacher, Ted, but he never paid her any attention. Although Ted was popular among the students, he tended to favor the flashy ones. Conversely, he might have neglected the quieter, less noticeable students. Just like how he neglected me at home. Despite her being his affair partner, I felt a bit of empathy for Amy. Richard's father, who had been listening, gently patted Amy's shoulder.
I understand your pain, but why did you decide to date Mr. Omar without revealing your true identity?
With tears in her eyes, Amy replied,
I wanted revenge. I wanted to ruin his family by making him cheat. By chance, he came to my club as a customer, so I made sure he would pick up on me. I thought if his wife found out he was cheating with me, she'd divorce him.
Though I felt some sympathy for Amy, her methods seemed excessive. No matter the reason, cheating is still cheating. Ted, who had been listening, suddenly glared at Amy with suspicion.
You played with my feelings just for that. What about my feelings?
Ted exclaimed, acting as if he were the victim. Unable to stand Ted's selfish attitude any longer, I finally spoke up. Shut up. Stop acting like the victim. Cheating is cheating. I've known for a while. My sudden outburst took everyone by surprise.
What's wrong, Karen? This isn't like you.
I've been holding it in all this time. Ever since we got married, you've been gone every weekend for socializing. And now this affair, I can't forgive you anymore. I poured out all the feelings I had been holding back. I thought I might have gotten through to Ted, but he showed no signs of remorse.
Well, it's because you never talked, and being at home was boring. So, I ended up going out with colleagues or inviting former students for drinks. It's part of being a teacher.
Just because you're a teacher doesn't mean you can neglect your family. Both my parents were high school teachers, and they valued their family. What you're saying is just an excuse.
Well, if you were also a teacher, it might have been different. But being with a wife like you who isn't even a conversation partner was suffocating. So,
Dad, stop it. This is pathetic.
John's sharp words silenced Ted immediately. Richard's father, who had been watching the whole scene, tried to calm Ted down.
I've heard from my son and my late wife that you are a good teacher. However, family is irreplaceable. I lost my wife 2 years ago, but you have such a wonderful wife. Please, from now on, consider the importance of facing your family.
No, that's not necessary, Ted. Let's separate. I've already talked to my parents. They said I can return home anytime. I felt bad for interrupting Richard's father, but I needed to be clear about my feelings. Ted looked panicked.
what? Then what happens to me? Sure, I wanted to separate, but I was deceived by the person I planned to remarry.
You talk about being deceived, but you lied about your wife and child being dead. As we argued, Richard's father intervened.
This should go to court. Since your husband's infidelity is the cause, you can claim alimony.
I will also take responsibility and pay alimony.
Amy, who had been silent until now, also acknowledged the gravity of her actions. Ted, now surrounded with no way out, had nothing left to say. Eventually, we went to court, and the divorce was finalized. Of course, I was able to claim alimony from Ted. Amy, or rather Emily Henderson, also offered to pay alimony, but I decided to decline. Although I couldn't forgive her for the affair, she seemed genuinely remorseful. Additionally, since she lost her job because of this incident, which was partly Ted's fault, I decided to handle her case with leniency. Ted complained that it was unfair for him alone to pay alimony. Despite all his wrongdoings, Ted showed no remorse. In any case, with the divorce finalized, I no longer cared about Ted. Later, I heard from Richard and his father that Ted's affair with a former student and the resulting divorce became the talk of the school. The rumors quickly spread among parents, leading to a flood of complaints to the school. This ultimately caused Ted to lose the trust of students and parents, forcing him to resign voluntarily. Looking for another job was difficult for Ted due to the bad rumors. Most local high schools wouldn't accept him. The only place that would take him was a remote branch school in the mountains. But Ted, who had always enjoyed being the center of attention, refused, saying he didn't want to be in such a deserted place. Unable to find a new job and falling behind on his rent, the landlord eventually told Ted to leave. Ted, with nowhere else to go, tried to move in with Eddie, who lived alone.
Mr. Omar, please don't ruin the image I had of you as a respected teacher. You're really uncool right now.
With those words, Ted was quickly turned away. Now, no one knows where Ted has gone. After the divorce, I returned to my parents' house. John soon moved out to live on his own after starting his job, and he's now fully independent. My parents were a bit sad that John didn't stay with them. But I'll be leaving my parents' house soon as well. Since the divorce, I've grown close to Richard's father, and we're getting married. Although he's busy with his work as a lawyer, he cherishes the time we spend together. Therefore, I don't think I'll be feeling lonely anymore. John is very happy for me and has started calling Richard brother. I feel like my life so far has been filled with enduring hardships. But I'm ready to graduate from just enduring. Although I haven't worked much before, I decided to start something new and became a clerk at my new husband's office. Initially, it was challenging to get used to the job, but my husband and the staff are kind and teach me patiently. I'm very happy being with someone I love both at work and at home. Now, I find that life has become enjoyable. Yes, this is the start of a new chapter in my life.